Greetings. I'm Reverend Jennifer Cormier, ceremonial artist and proud creator of this podcast. In my recent private work, I've been helping successful women release the pressure they put on themselves so they can feel at peace and have way more fun in their lives. This is exactly what we do at the Grace Collective, a virtual spiritual community of soulful, big hearted creatives who value authentic connection and joy. At the Grace Collective, we practice keeping our hearts open and our sense of humor in the face of life's inevitable challenges. Just like you, we've each moved through various life losses, and we've risen up through the ashes. We're leaders, artists, healers, aunties, mothers, grandmothers who gather to heal, grow, and create together. We honor our bodies, the earth, and all beings as sacred, knowing that nature, friendship, and laughter are all good medicine for the soul. We meet at the intersection of spirituality, embodiment, and creativity as part of our activism and our legacy. So I welcome you if you are a soulful woman looking for more community, creativity, laughter, and fun. I invite you to join the Grace Collective. We're offering our listeners 1 month of membership as a gift. Visit www.gracecollective.us and check out the show notes for more details. I look forward to connecting with you there. Until then, I send warmth and gratitude from my heart to yours. Welcome to the Walk Through Grief with Grace podcast, a space for human hearts to gather around stories of loss and love. I'm Jenn Cormier, your grief guide and host. It is my honor to have you join us through this sacred act of listening. May you receive something here that you need, something that is healing and calls forth your compassionate heart. We are so glad you're here. Hi, Angela. I'm so happy that you took the time to record a podcast with us today. Thanks for being here.
Absolutely. I'm really delighted to be here with you.
Yeah, Angela and I have known each other for some years. I think we said like it's been 11 years or something now. Is that
I think so, around over a decade. Yeah.
Yeah, since I was we met each other up in Orange County when I was pregnant with my son. We knew each other through the Nam yoga community, I think is the the way that we met originally. And it's really been an amazing journey to see you commit over the years more and more to your calling as an artist and as a playwright, really. And that's something that's really blooming for you in this season. Before we begin, I'm so happy to have you on, Angela, but I want to just share a little bit more about who you are with our listeners. Angela Apodaca is a writer, an actor, and an educator based near Los Angeles. She's an artistic associate and teaching artist at Breath of Fire Latina Theater Ensemble. Theater is her favorite artistic medium, and Angela has performed in professional theaters in Southern California and also in Oregon. She's a founding member of the Grace Collective, where she collaboratively curates music for dream dancing ceremonies and facilitates both theater and poetry play shops. So I'm just really honored to talk to you today because your presence in the Grace Collective has been just so foundational and essential for bringing life and vibrancy to both the musical and creative elements in the Grace Collective. And I'm just so grateful. There are two play shops that she's offered. And the most recent one was Wild Wordplay. And we did a whole poetry play shop that was really exceptionally fun. Do you want to just tell us a little bit about, let's see, where should we start? We could start in about 1,000 different places. You've gone through several different iterations, right, of yourself as an artist. And we really want to highlight the journey that is not linear because I feel like so many of us, if we're creatives or we've gone through loss or some kind of unexpected detour in our lives, it feels like a failure. It can feel like failure. And I think it's really important to point out that when we look at folks who seem like they're successful, really the road has is not straight so many of the times.
Yes, that's absolutely true. And the artistic path is usually very just curvy, full of unexpected moments. And then there are times when you're more dormant or, in a state of hibernation for your creativity, and then it reemerges.
Yeah. And I think that that rhythm is something that feels really important, I think, in my life. And I know you and I have moved through, you were part of the Transform Your Grief and Heal Immersion programs. And now you help to facilitate the dream dancing with the ancestors, creative ceremonies with me. And there's something about really honoring the rhythm of hibernation and rest and expansion that I think is really important in especially those of us who are creative, but really for everybody's lives, I think for our well-being. And I think that when we go through a loss or grief, it's like a mandatory. So we have to take a pause. But I think it's really essential for all of us for like a healthy ebb and flow in our creative process to just allow those ebbs.
Yes, it really is. And when we look out and see those examples in nature, we see that there's always a cycle in life.
Yeah.
A flower doesn't just bloom, bloom, bloom. It's got to have its time to rest and be dormant and nourish itself. And then, it follows through the cycle to again grow to the point where it can bloom again.
Yeah. Yeah. So, do you want to just share a little bit about how does your poetry influence your theater, vice versa? Like you as a poet and you as a playwright, I'm sure that they feed each other. Do you want to just share a little bit about the origins of your creative process? And that might, you can answer that any way you like maybe from childhood or just give us a little bit of an origin story, maybe.
Sure. I think thanks for the question. And with the poetry, yes, I think the poetry and theater they do speak to each other in very big ways. And I think I first started out as a poet with my writing very informally, kind of, you know, having these inner nudges of looking at this world through the eyes of a poet, and then learning the craft of poetry and writing in the different formats that we do in poetry. And from there I started exploring other genres of writing, and the most exciting one was live theater. When I stepped into live theater and learned how collaborative live theater is, that there are all these artists that collaborate together, I was extremely excited about it. And I found that my original ideas, like the little seed that, was getting planted or nourished, those creative ideas, that they might start out as a poem and then evolve into a longer length monologue, a scene. And now there's just this real fluid kind of interaction between poetry and playwriting for me. And it's almost I don't even worry and like think about it really of like, where did it start? It's just this nice dance for me between the two.
And would you say, I know that this podcast for the last almost 4 years has been focused on grief, and I feel like there's a shift happening that we're focusing as a community more on, I want to say, the fifth season of grief now. A lot of folks have been doing a lot of personal work, a lot of grief work. They've given themselves a lot of healing, at least in our community. And then there's that moment of, okay, now I'm ready to start a new chapter. I'm ready to create something new. I'm ready to take all of this energy that was maybe dammed up from holding back emotion, and I'm ready to really use that as fuel for a creative project. Would you say that the losses in your life have fueled your creative process? And if so, would you give us an example?
That just has to be a yes for me in my personal experience. Yes, yes, yes. And there's like this moment where you have this opportunity, or this, I think there's just a moment of like, which way am I going to go?
Mhm,
One is to kind of spiral down into something that feels very heavy.
mhm,
And the other is, if I take the creative road,
mhm,
I can create through this, through the heartache or the physical or emotional pain, through the confusion. I can help to actually clear the confusion by going down this road of creativity, because I can look at things in a different perspective. And so I think that's what I've discovered over the years with the experience of grief, is that I have those options, and that sometimes there's a little bit of like a block in embracing that creative path, that creativity as a way of continuing to move and process and to stay active in it, rather than to sort of numb out. So it's really a beautiful thing, that's available,
yeah.
to say yes to that creativity and let it be messy, or let it feel inspired, whether it feels graceful or whether it's really just like clunky and wild. It can be all of those things, but just like, just leaning into that of like, okay, okay, yes, yes, yes. I'm going to explore this through some curiosity, and just allow some curiosity to just kind of lead you along.
Yeah, it's you said that so beautifully, and I'm thinking about what came to mind when you were saying that was my grandmother, who
Mm.
my great grandmother wrote a lot of letters. She was a pen pal to my mom. So my mom and her grandmother would write back and forth. And my grandmother was an editor, but she didn't write. I think she had a bunch of ideas about writing, but there was like a perfectionist thing that got in her way because her older siblings were top of their class. And, I think she felt like there was something that she wasn't somehow enough to take her words and really commit them to the page. I guess in my observation, there was a perfectionism there that stopped her. So I don't really have stories written down from my grandmother. Would you have anything to say to folks who are listening who maybe, you know, they might consider themselves creative or they might have potential, but they're like, I have a book in me, but I haven't started, or I love writing in my journal, but I wouldn't call myself a poet yet, or something like that. Maybe they've got those perfectionist tendencies. Like, what have you done to move through those?
Perfectionism, just the way you shared about your grandmother, that is like ironclad, material to just keep you so closed. And that, but yeah, the perfectionism will definitely delay you sharing what's inside of you that wants to be shared, that desires to be shared. And all of our stories are just so valuable because every listener will resonate with something different from what you share in so many unexpected ways. You may think, I'm sharing this because it's related to this theme or this specific experience, but usually it's a lot bigger than that. People will see something that maybe you didn't even write in there, but they saw that, they connected with that. So I'd say, though it may feel painful at times to break out of that, to say, it doesn't have to be perfect and to just be daring and courageous in going out there to the whatever class it is or event that that is, that medium that calls out to you, whether it's visual arts or performing arts, whether it's specifically writing, playwriting, screenwriting, poetry, whatever it might be in that environment as much as possible, even if you're not calling yourself that type of creator. You just simply go and allow yourself to really be immersed and enjoy it and let yourself marinate in all of that. It's so joyful. It's going to be so nourishing. And and you just don't know what is going to resonate for you and what you'll connect with. It may be in the form of something that you see, like in a performance, or hear a piece of music, or see a piece of dance, choreography. Or it might just simply be that the person sitting next to you in an audience is the thing that you connect with the most. And it's something that inspires and encourages you to keep going.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that magic that, we don't, we may think as a creator, we may think what we're creating is for one thing, and there are things in there that people need we didn't even expect. And on the flip side, just I love that encouragement to just go be in the environment, go marinate in it, marinate,
Create a
and
marinade.
to marinate with it. The gift may be in an unexpected place, is what I'm hearing from you.
Yes, and it's could be it's like that idea of like the artist date, you go, you take yourself out on these like kind of artist or creative dates just to open yourself to discovery. And it's such a gift to give yourself that permission to go and be in those places. And you do that enough. And what I've discovered by doing that, putting myself out there in those places that inspire me, is that I get braver
Yeah.
and I feel more ready to share my stories and my talents. And then I do feel courageous enough to say, I'm a playwright, I'm a poet, I'm a teaching artist. I have, I have these experiences, I have this training, and of course, let's collaborate.
Right. Right.
What projects can we get started on here? Or, let's explore some ideas. Let's exchange contact information.
Right.
So, that's the next step after that, when you've been able to go out there and really be in those places that bring you joy and inspiration.
Yeah. And I love to do that even just on my own. I think people get like, oh, I don't have a partner or a friend to go with. Just to even I've noticed the times that I've gone out on my own have been even more fruitful because my eyes are more open instead of, chatting with the friend or friends that I've gone with, right? Then you're open to talking to a stranger, or you may see other things. My son is into amusement parks, and we just went to Disney. And he said that his favorite thing about Disney the whole day, I asked him, was talking to strangers. Actually, it wasn't a particular ride, and it was going single rider on a ride with 8 other passengers that he could just talk to people without me. One of his favorite pieces. Yeah, I love this. I feel like I'm sure that it's called something somewhere, but it's almost like courage stacking, just doing that next courageous baby step and then stacking it with another step and another step. And then it brings you to, you guest facilitated Theater of the Sphere, Mayan Theater of the Sphere in Teotihuacan with me. It's like, oh, hey, I have this that I can offer, and it'll bring me places, and I can have the courage to apply for grants or, residency opportunities, which you've now received one recently, right?
I did. I've just started a kind of writing residency. It's a writing cohort that's based in Orange County through the Orange County Playwrights Alliance. And it's the second year that they're offering this opportunity to writers. And I have an opportunity to receive support and write a play
Mm,
over the course of 5 months.
wow.
So it seems like a short amount of time, but it's that structure that really helps sometimes when you have a timeline, very specific timeline. It helps to have a deadline, even if they're presented in soft ways, like, by this time we'll have this many pages, or, there are these goals, specific goals. So that's really going to help. And there are facilitators that are mentoring our writing cohort. And it's you kind of need a community to create something really special. I love writing alone and taking some time to go into my imagination or do some research and really spend time creating that world that I'm writing about. But I also really appreciate having a community that's available through this writing cohort, and just knowing that there are going to be these guiding voices. There's going to be feedback, very Liz Luhrmann style feedback, where they're going to share, what are the strengths, and from there, and then ask questions
Mm.
using that curiosity, not judgment, saying like this doesn't work or this worked, or, but it's really just, you know, walking along with me and asking some questions, having some curiosity about what I'm writing. So I'm just so excited
Yeah.
to have, said yes, I will, apply to this, and then for them to say yes to my pitch, that I pitched an idea to them. And so, yes, I'm getting started with that, and it'll culminate in a staged reading. So that's a big brave moment later in the fall, that I'll be sharing that with the world, at least locally. And the goal beyond that is to share it more widely outside of Southern California.
Amazing. Amazing. So that will be a public reading
Yes, it's a public reading,
in October.
and in October, yes, towards the end of October.
Amazing. And where would folks find if they're listening to this and they happen to be in Southern California? Is that something they could go to, or is it an invite only?
It's being shared through a few different channels. There certainly can connect with me at I've got my social media handles that I've shared with you, also through No Square Theater in Laguna Beach. They're the theater that's hosting us, so they'll be putting out information about the staged readings, and also through Orange County Playwrights Alliance on their social media. They'll be also sharing the stage reading information, and maybe some other things along the way as we discover everything about our plays. There might be other updates. Also, certainly on like my personal social media, I'll be sharing some things along the way, what the journey is like. Yeah, so that's how you can find and connect up with the stage reading. All are invited. It's there are going to be three new plays that will be shared.
So fantastic.
Yeah.
And then we'll put your Instagram in the show notes, but will you just give your IG handle, the audio,
Yes, of course. It's Ange underscore Apodaca.
and spell that out for us?
ANG underscore APODACA.
Fantastic. Fantastic. I just have been so struck by the beauty that you've brought in to some of the loss you've experienced around your family loss, specifically your parents, and how you've really softened and opened to, your inner experience with words, with poetry, and bringing that forward. And I know that you're not necessarily going to read any pieces today for us, but is there something you want to share about that alchemy of honoring your family in a creative way and what that's done for you?
Yes, and I love that description of softening because I think before what I experienced was something that felt hard. It
Yeah.
felt hard. It felt so tender. It just felt everything that's the opposite of softening. And so it really is from allowing time and also connecting with so many people that experience the same type of grief that I've experienced in losing a parent, that I've been able to go into that region of softening. And for me, like that softening is also like it's a physical experience too. Because, those emotions can bring up so much that our body also feels that the tightening, the tension in different places in our body. And so it's been a physical and emotional softening of the heart too, where it doesn't feel, like heavy heartache. And I've leaned more into connection and community. So I think that's why I found my way to the Grace Collective, is to find more like-minded people and people also that I'm like, yeah, I'm part of that, that club of of grievers, and also just learning that grief comes in so many different formats and so many different scenarios in our life, moments in our life, and just opening my mind and my heart to learning more about grief and processing it and being with it, really like truly being with grief and giving it the time and attention that it so sometimes just really asks with so much aching.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah,
to say, okay, I'll give you that time and attention, whatever that aching is, that yearning.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I think that what you've pointed out, like yearning for a community that has some understanding and is also curious and can witness and is going through something similar is really especially valuable right now. There's, we're hearing of this epidemic of loneliness. I think with, the combination of being sort of post-pandemic and everything has moved on online and the rise of AI and AI tools and not quite knowing what's real or true. There's just so much media coming at us, and there's something about really having a space where we can really be human and stay human and have our human hearts and not be expected to, perform in any way, or have to put on a particular face, which I feel like a lot of people need to do for work, right? Or for,
Mhm.
they have to show up
Yeah.
in this role as this, I have to show up as director of whatever, or supervisor of something, parent of something, we have all wear all these hats. So to be able to take those hats off and just be a curious human, there's something really valuable in that.
Extremely valuable. And I want to be part of that movement that says, I want to show up with my humanness, wearing my humanness.
Yeah.
And, whether that's showing some imperfection, vulnerability, the humor and the playfulness, you know, whatever our authentic self is that shows up. I want to be part of that movement.
Yeah.
That's like, I'm okay with being the human, and it's messy and it's kind of, and also brilliantness, we're, if we're not like trying to cover up,
Yeah.
trying to be the director, the very poised person that, that can be very inspiring and put people at ease to say they're showing up with their humanness.
Yeah.
Ooh, okay, I can relax and I can be a little bit more human and as well, and show, maybe speak in a way that's a little bit more honest and sincere.
Yeah. And then we can practice that sincerity. We can practice the curiosity. We can practice the being true to ourselves. And that feels really important to me.
Yes, it feels important in this moment, especially this moment of time. Yeah.
So I know that our time is coming to a close. We need to wrap up. And I just really want to thank you for your time and your human heart and your softness and your all the different ways that you've shown up with curiosity and availability for, you know, whatever arises in yourself and other people, holding space for yourself and for others, in our community and in all the communities that you're a part of and that you touch right currently and over the years. So thank you for your presence. I think that's the most, it's just so powerful. And that presence, all of this can come, there's so much that can be created from just that powerful presence.
Oh, thanks so much, Jen. I feel I'm receiving that, your words, and I just have so much gratitude just bubbling up in me as well. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to speak here on the podcast and to share a little bit about myself and creativity and whatever else just kind of came today as we spoke. And I also just want to extend the warmest invitation to everyone who's listening to come and join the Grace Collective if it's something that moves you, and play with us. Playfulness is something that I found an incredibly useful tool and just a way of connecting with joyfulness.
Yeah.
And so come to a play shop. I presented some in theater and with poetry, and all of it is for, those that have experience and those that have no experience in theater or poetry. And there may be some other artistic mediums that I will, share something during the play shop. So just a big invitation for those that are feeling moved by an opportunity like the Grace Collective.
Yeah. We'd love to welcome, women in any capacity, whether you call yourself a poet, a playwright, a dancer, or any of those creative titles, or if you're just finding your way into the next chapter and finding that new identity of whatever is next for you, whether that looks like a creative title or something totally different. We bring creativity into everything that we do. And that's the one thing I so appreciate about the Grace Collective is we play and we have a lot of fun. I talk to
Yes, we
everybody.
do.
Remember, the one word that every single person used was fun. So that's an invitation to come and have fun with us. We've got 4 retreats every year, and we have an open door coming up here in June for folks to join us at our retreat and come for our summer session. And then you have access to Angela's play shops and recordings of the wild wordplay and the other play shops and things that we have in our recording portal. So thanks for sharing that, Angela. Thank you for your time and your beautiful heart. And we will talk again soon. Thank you for being here with us. Thank you for listening. You are a vital part of this podcast. You are why we are here. Let us close today by placing a hand on our hearts and a hand on our bellies, feeling our breath move through our bodies. May we feel connected. May we be at peace. May we be love. As we breathe, let us acknowledge that in this moment we are, in fact, alive. And this is a miraculous gift. Let's bow our heads gently to our hearts. Thank you for listening. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for doing something healing and kind in this moment right now. We give great thanks. We give great thanks. We give great thanks. And it is done until next time. May you walk gently out in the world and be gentle and loving with yourself. Much love from my heart to yours, and bye for now. From the bottom of our hearts, thank you so much for being a listener to this podcast. We really want to stay in touch with you long term. So, if you don't already receive our e-newsletter, we'd love to offer you inspiration, insights, and news about how things are evolving and how we can support you on your journey. So, at the top of the Walk Through Grief with Grace website, that's walkthroughgriefwithgrace.com, you'll see a yellow button and you can sign up for our free gift, and that will put you on our e-newsletter list and we can stay in touch with you. So thank you so much for your spirit and your presence, and we will see you soon.